Hey there. My name's Eric.
And my name's Eric.
Who are we?
We're Eric's Drink Whiskey.
God bless America.
So tonight we are drinking a super tasty, super value-friendly Heaven Hill product called Fighting Cock. And Eric, we also got something a little bit special lined up, don't we?
Hey, speaking of cocks.
There we go. Old school Robin Hood.
For the occasion, I put the rooster on the shirt instead of the lotion on the skin.
Who do we got with us tonight, Eric?
We have a very good friend of mine. His name is Mike Schmidt, and Mike Schmidt is the owner of Old Soul Brewing Company here in Fort Myers. They used to be a full-on craft brewery, and now they are a tap room. And Mike and I have gotten to know each other the past couple of years, just through some mutual friends. And his brewery's been a wonderful place for people to hang out, and I always bring my boys there all the time. There's board games and all kinds of stuff going on there. But Mike's kind of gotten to know me and my vice hobbies over the years, and he's kind of starting to join in on a couple of them.
All right. Well, cool. Well, y'all stick around. We'll be right back.
Welcome, Mike Schmidt, to Eric's Drink Whiskey.
You are drunk, sir.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
And you are full, sir.
The episode is I am, so I don't get drunk.
Oh, well, that you can add that onto the list of your problems, I guess.
Problems are an admission of wrongdoing and guilt, and
really. Well, I'm not a priest, neither are you.
No wrongdoings.
Right.
All right, you guys know what you're doing here, or what?
Still figuring it out, but we'll go ahead and jump in. All right, so we are back with our special guest, Mike Schmidt, and we are drinking Fighting Cock. This is all right. This is a great little Heaven Hill product. It's I don't even think it's $20. I think it was about $19.99. Just kind of give you some stats on it. Again, it's made by Heaven Hill. It is an ongoing product. 103 proof. No age statement, although it used to be stated at 6 years. A little internet sleuthing gives us a guesstimated mash bill of 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% barley. It is a lovely copper color and comes with this kind of badass fighting chicken look on the label there. El Diablo, that's right. And Eric, this was kind of a shots fired by Heaven Hill at your favorite drink there, and that's Wild Turkey 101. Heaven Hill.
Yeah.
Heaven Hill came out with this, the Fighting Cock, to go up against the Wild Turkey, and one-upped them a little bit with 103 proof. So a little bit of whiskey trivia there for you.
The goal was to make a whiskey that was 2 proof points higher than 101, but tasted 30 proof points higher than this.
All right, let's see what we got here. Woo.
Woo.
So first you taste with your eyes. This is what I know about beer. So when you're doing beer, you look for the clarity or not clarity, whatever, however it's supposed to be. This label to me is kind of cheesy. It's pretty cool, but it's kind of cheesy.
It is. I'm with you there, Mike. It is not. Had our friend here not recommended it so highly, it's probably not a bottle I would have picked up.
Right, just because of that. But you know, how much profit margin can there be in a $19.99 bottle of bourbon?
Well, they got 3 of us to buy it,
Right?
at least.
Yeah, you gotta.
Well, hang on. Eric Simpson knew exactly where this was on the shelf space when I went to buy it.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. He's a savant.
I thought that was hilarious. I'm looking all over the shelves, and I'm like, where the hell is it? So I just pick up my phone and text Eric. I'm like, Eric, where is this? And he goes, it's by the 4 Roses down on the bottom
Down
shelf.
on the bottom. It doesn't taste as hot as it smells. I'll give it that.
Spicy.
Yeah.
I love spicy bourbons, whiskeys.
It sits flavor-wise for me about halfway between Evan Williams Bottled in Bond and my Elijah Craig small batch. It's kind of the best of both worlds a little bit.
Yeah, y'all dived in yet?
Yeah. Glad you could join us.
I really enjoy it.
My 3-year-old wanted his TV show back on. Okay.
That's important.
It should be.
Woo!
It's good.
So, Eric, I've always talked about with Heaven Hill. You might have mentioned it when I was gone, but I always get this like super dusty barn corn note with Heaven Hill bourbons, especially over 100 proof. I usually kind of get that real dusty corn kind of flavor. With this one, I know it's at least 4 years old, and I'm pretty much going to assume that it's 4 years old because the old age dated stuff was 6. I took it off, so I'm going to assume it's about 4. It tastes younger than some of the other cousins to it, and I don't know if they used greener barrels, and by greener I mean cornier. Maybe some of the barrels were not at that little high, not at the higher part of the rick house there, but maybe on the lower shelf. It doesn't taste off-putting by any means, but it just tastes younger than mine and Eric's favorite Evan Williams Bottled and Bond.
See, I think it's got some more oak on it than Evan Williams. I was telling Mike before you came back, flavor-wise, it tastes to me like it sits halfway between Evan Williams and Elijah Craig. You still got some of that kind of young, corny flavor, but then you've got some of that older oak picking up that rye spice and give you a nice little heat to it.
This is going to sound crazy, but I'm thinking a really amazing Fireball. That cinnamon, what is that? Cinnamon crap that people do shots of, right?
No, you're not wrong. It's got that same like heat, like chewing big red gum.
What Fireball should be.
Yeah.
Right. You're not getting paid by these guys. So you can say what you want, but I would drink this anytime.
It's a smooth 103. Full disclosure, I did temper my palate a little bit with some Evan Williams before we started, but I think it's almost criminal that it's only $20.
That's nice. Well, I'll tell you the
Brown is 12.
Well, but you can find this. Don't talk about that shit no one can find, Eric. That's not what we're about here.
Yeah, because the company can get into Total Wine.
They're in Total Wine, just not in Florida.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why you can get this. And it appeals to some 30-year-old soccer mom is going to drink this, to be honest with you. because I posted this on Old Soul's website and our Facebook page, and a 30-something-year-old soccer mom said, "Oh, that stuff's really good." I'm not trying to throw it under the bus. I'd drink this anytime. It's good.
I bought my bottle, a couple months ago, Eric? I mean, and I'm already down below the top of the label, and that's with all the other stuff I got in my cabinet. So, I mean, it's a good, solid daily drinker. It is. I feel like if $35 a bottle for Elijah Craig is out of your price range, but that's a flavor that you enjoy, then this is a solid runner-up to scratch that itch. This is a fun drink.
I mean, I could see having some people over and they know you have a whiskey collection, and you say, "Hey, well, what kind of whiskey do you prefer?" "Oh, something really spicy." Gotcha. You pull this right down off the shelf and you give it, and if you had a bunch of guys over there, people drinking whiskey, and you want to say like, "Hey, how much do you think this is?" or that kind of thing. It's a fun whiskey, and it's easy to drink. Awesome. It's easier the more you drink it.
I'd probably say this would be a good candidate for a decanter, to have something that looks fancy, that tastes fancy, that set you back $20 to show off to your friends.
The decanter costs double what this costs.
That's good. I damn drank all my sample again to pour some more.
I think me and you get close to 5 years on our actual knowing each other.
That's true. 5 years.
We weren't whiskey friendly 5 years ago. That was about 3 years ago. But we met right when Jason started.
Man, I'm telling you, that was the most hilarious thing. Is you and Joe are sitting in my tap room doing a podcast, and I go up to my bartender. I'm like, "Who the hell are these guys? What are they doing?" And Jason's like, "They're doing your podcast." And I go, "What podcast are they doing?" And he said, "Old Soul Podcast." I'm like, "Well, who the hell gave them permission to do that?" And he goes, "They didn't. They're just doing it." I'm like, "You guys finished?" And I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" And you're like, "You were so cool about it." You're like, "Yeah, we're doing your podcast. You need one." I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Okay, do what you want. Just don't exploit me. Like, don't turn me into a trash thing or something."
The fun little backstory, Eric, is my old assistant at one of the golf courses I used to work at wanted to start doing a podcast with me. Not necessarily 100% about whiskey, but we both like going to Old Soul a lot. And I was like, why don't we just do a podcast based out of Old Soul and having the moniker? And I'm aware of the shit I was stepping in, and the gall I had to do to go into somebody's establishment and bring whiskey and just.
He did not care.
I didn't care.
But you had a sense that it wasn't going to go really bad for you.
Right. It was one of those things. It was like I didn't know there was an alligator in the water until I went and started swimming. I just went ahead and jumped in. I was like, well, I'm gonna get bit. I'm gonna get bit.
But being Florida, you should have assumed.
But Joe looked at me right before my. He said, "All right, dude, this is it." I was like, "We got it." And here we are today, 5 years later. Mike, dive in a little bit of why you decided to open that particular brewery. What brought you into the scene in this area,
or brewing in general, I guess.
Was it a hobby?
Well,
or what?
Oddly enough, I used to drink Miller in the champagne bottles, right? And I had a pool table in my
family label
warehouse that I used And it's not my go-to beer. I'm drinking this for my sister in recognition of my sister right now. So anyway, my sons are getting to be the drinking age. They're working with me, and I had a vending business, and I had a warehouse, and I had the opportunity to do whatever I wanted in that space. So we started shooting pool and drinking beer, and my boys kept telling me, "Oh, Dad, stop drinking that. I got you Sierra Nevada," and I'm like, "Why would I pay $3 a bottle for that when this is like 75 cents a bottle?" By the way, I picked up an extra bottle of bourbon, and then realized it's from Texas. Like somehow I'm for Texas whiskey. You know what this is? This is the classic out of the Indiana warehouse of Build-A-Bourbon. Yeah.
MGP.
Yeah. I
Build
just
a
read
bourbon.
the bottle before.
I like that.
So anyway, they started convincing me to drink the craft beers, and then they both moved off one after the other to Colorado, and they started getting really into beer and sending me back beers, and I'm drinking sours and stuff that tasted like wine. It was really amazing, and I didn't know beer could be that way. The guy in the warehouse next to me, he said, "You're really into beer." He said, "I have home brewing equipment in my garage that's been stored there for years." I said, "Bring it in." I said, "I'll give it a shot, and if it works out, I'll buy it from you." So I made a great batch of beer and kept going. And the boys out in Colorado, they started brewing beer too, kind of all of us simultaneously. And then it turns out that I was like at the end of that business. I was so tired of vending machines that I'd had my fill of it for over 20 years. So we sort of just morphed it into, we were going to go with a home brew store where people could buy ingredients and then morph that into a brewery. But somebody gave us some advice, like there's money in brewing. And so we went that route right away. And we opened up a brewing, was called Old Soul. And here's to Old Soul.
So Mike, is there something about like a flavor that you like in beer that you feel like transfers over into whiskey, and something that you look for flavor wise, or are the two just completely different?
As far as beer goes, and what I personally was trying to do with beer, I was just trying to be creative in a way. I did so many different types of beers. You know, I'm talking make a nice pale ale, ferment it out, add fruit, and then put wine yeast in it, and get a second fermentation on that, and see how that went. But nobody really got it. You know, they did. If you were a wine drinker and a beer aficionado, like if you like both of those things, you get it. There's not very many people of us across the country. Yeah, you can hashtag something and you're going to get a bunch of followers, but there's not a lot of people like us that actually want to sit and explore the flavors and stuff. They just, oh, that's a great IPA, or that's a great this, and they go with it and they go back to it. They go forward and back with it, but they're kind of stay in that zone. Oh, I made a beer. It was peanut butter. I put peanut butter powder in it, and then I got the yeast that produces the most banana flavor that's possible. So I ordered that yeast, and I got that, and I made a Belgian peanut butter, basically peanut butter and banana Belgian beer,
and Elvis beer.
Oh yeah, exactly. I called it Elvis's Nightmare, and people loved it. People loved it. That's the kind of thing I was trying to do.
That sounds great. Is there anything you see about, obviously it's been your life now brewing, that parallels with whiskey in any way?
Parallels with whiskey? You know, probably the most important lesson that I learned through being in this business with alcohol. It doesn't matter exactly what you're drinking. It doesn't even matter the cost of the bottle. What matters most is it doesn't matter how you drank it, with ice, without, in soda. It doesn't even matter. What matters most is what you were experiencing while you were drinking it. Who were your friends around you? Was it your dad? Was it your brother? Was it, just really close friends that you've known, or somebody that you just met? That the people aspect of it is probably more important than anything you'll ever taste in your entire life.
I'll drink to that.
Cheers.
This is why I don't think anyone really appreciates the what are you calling it, NDA, the build a bourbon, right? No one appreciates that place in Indiana that really is conscious about drinking good quality whiskey. I can't imagine anyone, a consumer, really appreciating that, right?
A lot of these NDP companies, and for those who don't know, that's non-distilling producer. It's a company that just sources and just bottles it. They don't age it. They just bought it under a different name. They sign a waiver saying they're not going to say that who they got it from. Blah 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 blah.
From here on, we'll be called Build a Bourbon.
Right.
Henceforth. I think you're right, Mike. I think they get a bad rap, and maybe there are some out there that do treat it as we're just gonna get this juice, slap it in a bottle, and make a quick buck. But I think there's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that is the way it sounds, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think people really appreciate it. I don't think the consumer really appreciates it. The bourbon maker, those guys, they're comfortable with it because it adds a certain amount of security to them. It adds a lot of convenience to them. They can expand markets into some place like Black Feather, Texas, American bourbon whiskey from Indiana. And they can put that out there, and you see the shelves grow, and you see these things happen, and people will reach for it that are not serious conscientious bourbon drinkers or whiskey drinkers. But the fact is, I don't think if anybody really knew, they would not want that, So what's more important than this coming from Indiana versus Texas versus Kentucky is, remember that podcast that we did with this fighting cock? And it's not about the fighting cock. It's about spending time doing a vlog, a video blog, or podcast, and you can say that was a good time with those people. Yeah.
Eric, isn't Jefferson's MGP?
Allegedly. It's different because it is labeled Kentucky Straight Bourbon.
Well, I know at least the Oak project that you and I did was distilled in Indiana, aged in Louisville. But I think that's one. I mean, Mike, you know how much brewing equipment costs. I can only imagine how much a column still will cost, let alone enough to crank out enough product. And I feel like to be able to source just regular old straight bourbon and not have to worry about kind of that overhead gives you the flexibility to do stuff like Jefferson's Ocean or the Joseph Magnus stuff, where you're spending your time and effort on how it's aged and finished versus just cranking out the distillate. I have to say, Mike, when I was down in Fort Myers and visited you out there at the brewery, I obviously hit at a weird time, but you did have, I think, Eric, what'd you say is the Salty Walter, or that Ghost that you had on tap?
Yeah.
And I honestly have to say that was the first time that I've enjoyed a Ghost. It was just kind of the right balance. That normally they're just too tart and not enough flavor. I don't know what you did, but it was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. That's, that Gosa style is so amazing, that because I love history too, and when I first started getting into beer, I just started looking at historical beers, and the internet pops up this beer style Gosa, and it explained the whole process of it. And I'm like, this is so unusual. They actually ferment it in the bottles, and the cork is yeast, and they push that cork down in the bottle, and then they fill it with the wort. And then as the wort starts fermenting with that lactobacillus cork, the cork starts getting lighter, and then finally, when it hits just the perfect time, it plugs the bottle up and stops. And then you let it sit on a shelf for a few weeks, and then it's ready to serve. And when you serve it in a glass. And this is the German Reinheitsgebot law, or whatever, or the German purity laws, that you can only have grain, yeast, hops, and water in your beer. So that qualified. But it's going to be a tart beer because it's got wild yeast in it, and you pour it into a bottle or into your glass, and then they would take raspberry syrup and they would drizzle the raspberry syrup on there and serve it that way. And it was a really amazing drink. Yeah. So I saw that going on, like on the internet, like reading through the history of it. This beer hasn't been even made in like 500 years. And I'm like, somebody's probably doing this, because in my mind, nothing's been not done before. Everything's been done before. So I found 2 breweries in the entire United States that were doing it. And one was Brad Rapp in St. Pete or Tampa area. It's right there. So my son and I jump in a car and we go up there and we go see Rapp Brewing, and we talked to Brad for a while. I think that's his name, Brad Rapp. I know it's Rapp. And we went to his little tiny brewery and talked to him for a while, and we were amazed. And then we actually, this is the respectfulness of the business that we're in. We said, do you mind if we make this beer? And he goes, go for it, man. You should do that. So we go back and we start home brewing it and got it really nice. So it was a wonderful beer. And there's really nice, like, perfecting a beer. We never thought perfection for a drink for you is different than a perfection for a drink for somebody else. So we've changed that recipe a dozen times as we've made it through the years, but it is a fantastic beer. Yeah. Thank you.
If you don't mind me asking, what's on the horizon for you and Old Soul, Mike?
Well, we're done. The government has put us out of business. People that refuse to wear face masks have put us out of business. If we had done this properly at the beginning, in the beginning of March, just make it mandatory, everybody wear a mask, we would have never had to been shut down. And now we're in our second shutdown. And for a little business like me to lose $100,000 in it's not even profits. We're talking just $100,000 in the amount of money that I'm not going to make this year. I got to go so much into debt just to try to be able to do that. So there's going to be people out there that they'll judge businesses like this. Oh, they weren't funded properly. You can't fund yourself for this. There's so many businesses that are going to be going under, from businesses with large budgets, businesses with small budgets. It's not going to matter. What's going to matter the most is how long when they were closed, and how well the people that they were doing business with will work with you.
I mean, I don't know any of us that would do pretty well if we went 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months without a paycheck. So
right.
I hate that. I loved. Obviously, it was toned down because it was a little private event, but I loved, the vibe that you had going out there, and really hate that that's something that Fort Myers is going to miss out on.
Yeah, somebody's going to miss it. Seriously. I get people all the time in this last This both shutdowns, I've gotten a lot of people. And the biggest thing about Old Soul, and this is, I can't even stress enough, the biggest lesson that I learned was a very humbling one, is that what matters is the experience. You came in there, you met somebody that became a friend for your life, or you were there with whoever, and you had a great time at this place. And that's really what my bar was about. It's been fantastic.
And here you are on our YouTube whiskey show.
And I guess you launched Eric's podcast career that then branched off into this. So I guess we have you to thank for being here tonight.
Yes. How do you put that? Like in football terms, like I'm the coach that created other coaches. Yeah. Can we say that? No.
I think that is all we've got for time tonight. Just want to remind everybody to be sure to hit the subscribe button on the page, and also be sure to hit the little bell button as well to be sure that you get notified anytime we have a new video drop. Also, to keep up with what Eric and I are doing, what we're drinking, who we're visiting, follow our Instagram at Eric's Drink Whiskey. Really enjoyed getting to spend some time with Mike tonight. It's been a while. But until next time, guys.
It's been fun. Thank you for inviting me, and I've really enjoyed it. See you guys soon.
Thanks. And one last time before we all leave, cheers.
Cheers.